Welcome to our next edition of our Leadership Thought Series. I have today with me a very interesting person, someone I know from more than a decade now. I would like to welcome Rahul Jindal, who is a Global Director of Stack at Google. Stack is a very interesting acronym that Google has come up with. Stands for Strategy, Transformation, Automation, Content, and Knowledge for the people operations part of Google. Rahul has over a couple of decades of experience in technology and has very widely varying interests. He engages very heavily with the startup ecosystem and he has a lot of interests in areas as diverse as neurodiversity, home furnishing, and many other spaces. So, Rahul, thank you so much for accepting our invite to be on the show today.
Thank you, John. I'm very glad to be here.
All right. So, Stack, I think that's a very long acronym. So, I'm sure everyone is going to be very curious. What's with so many words in the title?
No, absolutely. I think even though we put this structure together, this team together for our needs, but I do truly believe that every large services operations needs a construct like Stack, right? Of course, teams have had, companies and functions have had strategy and transformation teams. They've had content and knowledge teams. They certainly have automation teams, whether they are in-house or outsourced or SaaS. But I think we are trying in the era of AI to bring all of these capabilities under the same roof, under the same leadership. And I truly believe that every large services operations in the era of AI, where we are looking at some unprecedented change, I think every large company, every large function must have a team like Stack. Of course, I'm slightly biased in saying that because that's how we've structured, but we've done that after a lot of thought. And just to give you a flavor, right, there's a lot of interplay between these components, right? So the strategy folks in the pursuit of the business transformation decide that we want to maybe use certain technology or let's say AI. Now, AI, we know, actually thrives on proprietary knowledge and data. That's the content and knowledge. And once you know what you want to get built, bases your proprietary data, you could actually do it with in-house AI teams like we have, or you could also do it with third-party platforms like we also have. And that's the automation side of it. So I think usually if you keep these three as distinct or led by different people, I think a lot of time will be spent in simply aligning amongst those leaders on what is the most important thing. In bringing it all together, I think we give it a natural acceleration and a natural tailwind, which is needed in the era today, because I think organizations need to change at the speed of technology. But today, this change at the speed of organizational change, which can be quarters and years slower than what the speed of technology is these days.
All right. So I'm sure the question that's on topmost of everyone's mind, right? Does Google believe that people are essential for the future of work?
Oh, 100%. I mean, our own company's origins, and we recently celebrated our 27th birthday, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure people maybe 25 or so years ago were saying that, oh my God, internet has come in. What will happen to jobs? Jobs won't be needed. And even though I don't have the data off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure more jobs and more interesting jobs got created by the previous investments and large investments in technology and infra that enabled the internet, that enabled subsequent waves of technology like e-commerce, of course, then further things with data and blockchain, and then many other technologies, cloud, etc., came in. Each one of them created waves. So, of course, I'm not representing the company viewpoint here, but as a individual Googler who's been in the company 12 years in leadership roles, I personally do think that this wave of technology will create more and new interesting roles. Of course, it's incumbent upon all of us to learn AI, because I'll probably say it for the thousandth time. I'm sure people have heard this before, is that in any profession, it's not that AI will supplant people in that profession, but professionals in that profession who know how to use AI will likely have a greater advantage than people who do not. So whether you're a doctor or a knowledge provider or an engineer or whatever profession you have, an engineer knowing how to use AI will supplant an engineer who does not. So it's people competing with each other as always. AI just becomes a superpower in the hands of one who knows how to use it.
Yeah. So I have a theory on this, Rahul. When AI comes in more and more, it's going to take away a lot of the basic work from a lot of us, right? And we are going to get more free time. And then we'll have to figure out what to do with our free time. And we'll probably come up with something creative, something useful. And I think the only way to look at it from a jobs perspective or a work perspective is that is there an intersection between what we invest our energy on and what someone is ready to pay for? Right. As opposed to intersection,
Right.
we still have jobs.
No, 100%. I think that second part of what someone's ready to pay for also, sometimes you just have to do market making, right? Like, I'm pretty sure like 10 or 15 years ago, so many people were not earning decent amount of money from being an influencer. So sometimes you just have to stay put, right? If you are convinced and if you are diagnosing the opportunity well and then you're providing for it well, I think monetization will come. And I work at Google. This is a company which actually has always emphasized on building a delightful product, a delightful experience, and monetization always follows, right? So Google search is such a great example. It was not monetized from day one. I think I'm pretty sure everybody uses Google. So I would like for everybody to be inspired in their own personal career journeys from Google. Is that provide something useful, you will always figure out a way to make money out.
Yeah. So coming to products like Google, you talked about Google Maps, you talked about Google Search. So Google has scaled things like no one else has, right? So what is your funda in terms of how you're scaling up people ops at Google today?
Right. So, of course, we are a very critical function for this company. This function is critical for any company. And, I would like to generally believe that one of the first people that get hired in any company, in any startup, are the HR people, right? So they come in first, they kind of build it out. So the humanness aspect of what we provide will always be there, right? So if I look at maybe three types of things, one is, of course, knowledge of what makes the business successful. Second is unconditional care for the people who work in that business. And third is how we do the work that we need to do. I think I likely enables HR practitioners to spend more time on the number one and number two while actually taking care of the other procedural aspects more. So I don't think any successful HR person is successful because they know which buttons to click and which forms to fill. I mean that is expertise is needed, but that's not what makes them a great HR partner or great advisor to the business, or great custodian of people's interests and businesses' interests. I think somewhere the systems, and especially so in larger companies, saddles the HR expertise with the procedural work. And I think in the era of technology, especially AI, that procedural work will likely be more eased. So people can go back to understanding what makes the business successful, understanding the drivers of it, understanding people's interests, understanding the talent needs, and matching them. So what you kind of went to school to study, I think you can spend more time doing that in practice as opposed to just enabling yourself to do it.
So Rahul, a lot of times when I use tools like Gemini and ChatGPT, and when I'm asking the tool for some inputs, something creative or something more strategic, I'm amazed by the clarity of thought that emerges. So I wonder, is AI going to take the bottom end of our work, the more procedural operational work, or is it going to take the top end of our work, which is more creative? And just to give you an example here, I once saw a cartoon where the human beings are, while AI is sitting and drawing a picture, the human beings are doing operational drudgery in a plant, right? It was a cynical cartoon. So what's your take on this?
No, I think my take is I am a die-hard believer in the resilience of human beings and human race as a species. So I actually don't think that the top is fixed, right? If automation arrives that enables us to, in a more democratic fashion, in a faster fashion, take care of the top end of the work, whatever it means in any job today, I think the top just moves, right? There is much more to be done today. I think the top is, let's say, a smaller percentage of any job because it takes a while to do that. But if you have this magic machine which enables you to do what is considered top easier, then you'll do more of it, and that enables a new top to emerge, right? And if you look at any of our own journeys, right, I think previously finding multiple sources that then we can sit down and analyze and prepare an answer for whatever our job context is, the finding of the sources itself used to take such a long period of time, right? It was subjected to what are the data sources you have, what are the books you have, the time it takes to go to a library, your own ability to read, synthesize. Then Google search engine came in, and that made the task of finding the sources almost negligible amount of time. And now in the era of LLMs, our first version of a synthesized answer is given to you in seconds. But then the
Yeah.
top is shifting, and we are already seeing the early adopters in every field of endeavor, right? Whether it is storytelling, or it is research, or recommendation preparation, or engineering work, and so on. I think the top just keeps moving. So I would like everybody to not have a fixed mindset on what the top is, but have a growth mindset on what the top is, and top keeps moving all the time. And AI is just a massive grade acceleration to moving the top very rapidly.
So I think coming to this point of yours on the top moving up rapidly, right? The concept that is really out there now is what we call Pareto's Pareto.
Yeah.
So Pareto is that the top 20% of anything that you do creates 80% of the impact of the outcome.
Yeah.
And now you can say the top 20% of the top 20%, which is the top 4%, actually ends up giving you 95% of the outcome,
Right.
right? So are we moving towards a world where a few people who are able to apply intelligence and use these tools very well are
Yeah.
able to create vastly disproportionate outcomes compared to the rest of the human race?
Yeah.
Even earlier, Google's philosophy right from its very early days was that people capability does not follow, the normal curve, right? I think Google came up with the power law concept, right?
Yeah.
The top 1% of uh, creates a disproportionately large impact on outcomes at work.
Yeah.
What is AI going to do to that?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very interesting articulation. So certainly AI with these LLMs that I see, of course, when we say LLM, it means large language models, but of course, it's a term which is more generically used for also other modalities with video and images and code and all that. So LLMs can these days produce all of these modalities, not only just language output. I do think what you're saying intuitively sounds aligned with how I think about it, that people who know how to use these LLMs can get a lot more done. So you're right that in a fixed field of endeavor, maybe fewer people will be able to achieve the outcomes or most of the outcomes compared to most people. But I do think that these technologies also open up new fields of endeavor, right? So within the same pie, the value creation gets concentrated, but there are more pies which become available. So I think that is one. But then also, anybody very successful in any endeavor also creates a bit of a secondary and auxiliary economy around them, right? So their success leads to other kinds of jobs that are about making them successful, right? So whether it is taking care of the needs of the top 1% of the society, that is an economy itself. So I do think that more roles will get created, but you're absolutely right. I do believe that with intelligence on tap available through these large models, a person who knows how to use these models can get the work of many done with one, for sure.
Yeah, so taking forward the same, line of argument, right? If you look at today, uh, FANG, as we call it, right? The top 7 companies in the US stock market account for about 38% of stock market value, right? Is that going to be similar in people? So do you think AI is going to make things more democratic and it's going to make it easier for people to uh, have a more equitable kind of livelihood? Or do you think exactly the opposite is going to happen?
I think this is probably the most important question facing humanity today. So I'd be remiss to not qualify that this is just my opinion. It's not the company's opinion. It's not nothing else. It's just my own thoughts. I do think that the concentration of wealth will probably increase. I do not imagine that this force by itself is necessarily a democratizing force in terms of wealth. But I feel that's too complex a question to start with, because wealth is an outcome of so many actions that need to happen. I do have zero doubt that what this is absolutely a force of democratization is access to intelligence. Now, everybody has access to this supercomputer in their pockets, in their apps, or in their browsers. I think it goes back to the basics. For any human being, if you've been given the capability, what are you doing with that capability? I think so. I would encourage individuals at an individual level, or families or institutions, whether it's schools or higher education or companies or maybe even faith organizations, to bring back the responsibility of the individual for success in their life, however they measure success, right? If
Mhm.
we waiting for an external entity to come in and give us our livelihood, I think that is probably not the right thing to do. In fact, if anything, I think this is a exponentially larger democratizing force than even internet was, because internet gave you sources through a channel like google.com. You got the sources, you got democratized access to sources. This one gives you first version of answers. So I think it goes back to the human endeavor. What makes the human race human is that we are resilient, we innovate, we take charge. So I think the connection of democratized access to intelligence and democratized wealth is very convoluted. I think I'd much rather that people feel empowered, that I have the whole world's knowledge in my hands, whole
Mhm.
world's intelligence in my hands. What will I create using? But if
Mhm.
somebody says, I will not create anything, but wealth should fall in my lap, that is probably not what made the human race human, right? Like it's the whole goes back to the Darwinianism of survival of the fittest. I mean, that we became the race we became by being the fittest. So how
Mhm.
do we get that maxim in the AI era? We have to be fit. We have to know how to tap the super intelligence.
So I guess, in a sense, what you're also saying is that for the human race, as we evolve forward, now that intelligence is democratized, might be our differentiating factor is developing the intelligence to use intelligence.
Yeah, 100%. I would say, if I was to even more simplify that, I think as problem solving gets more democratized, I think the human talent is better put in problem finding.
Mhm.
So becoming people with sharper critical thinking,
Mhm.
becoming people who can be dropped into a situation, whether it's a societal topic or a work topic or a family topic or whatever topic that one interests one, what are the critical choke points in that context, right? So that problem finding, and listen, that was the purpose of early education. Somewhere maybe we got distracted by all that was happening, but I think as long as we can get people to be happy and a happy mind to be trained on critical thinking, I think that will lead human creativity to be unleashed once more with the super intelligence. So I think I'd much rather cultivate curiosity in people. I'd much rather cultivate critical thinking in people. I'd much rather cultivate a sense of wonderment or amazement in people. I think if you have those three, curiosity, amazement, and critical thinking, I think we are sitting on the start of a golden era where new professions will be created in the next 5-10 years that we cannot even imagine today.
All right. So let's move the focus from the human race a little more to closer home to your work.
Yeah.
So if the future of people experience at Google were a movie, what genre would you classify it under, and what role are you playing in this?
Yeah, I have to admit I haven't watched that many movies and across genres especially. So my answer would be restricted to the genre I like the most, which is drama.
Okay.
So I would maybe attempt to answer your question saying that, it is like a legal drama, right? And I want to emphasize on legal because just like with the legal subject matter, the HR subject matter is very nuanced, right? It's very sensitive. So I look at my team and people like us, we are sort of like the lead counsel and the research team. So we are actually spending all our energies in thoughtfully figuring out how to win, right? And it'll require many twists and turns. It'll require a lot of critical thinking again. It'll require a lot of research. It'll require some experiments. It'll require going out on a limb and taking some risks. But we have to do it thoughtfully, intentionally, and then I'm pretty sure we will win.
So when it comes to this point of how to win, if there was one superpower that you could give every good from a people experience table.
Yeah, I want to talk about something uniquely Google, right? At Google, we have this trifecta of respects. It goes respect the user, second is respect each other, and third is respect the opportunity. I think it's very deeply ingrained in our work at this company and similar companies of respecting the user, right? So user centricity leads to product excellence, leads to building things that are used by hundreds of millions of people, billions of people.
Mhm.
I think we also are very blessed with having a culture which is about respecting each other, right? So you give respect to others in your behavior and you seek respect, and that is deeply ingrained. I think in the speed at which the world is changing, because of course our company's work and the work of other companies, I feel that that respecting the opportunity, there's always an opportunity to do more on that. So understanding that opportunity to tap onto a business challenge, or opportunity to create a new market, opportunity to win a customer, opportunity to innovate, that window is not there available permanently. So I would like for every one of my colleagues, for me, to come to work every day being grateful for the opportunity that we have with the resources that we have to capture, to win, right? To win the next customer, to solve the next problem, to get the next right hire, to unlock people's potential, whatever our roles are. But coming up with the same energy that we have for respecting the user and respecting each other on respecting the opportunity, I think that would be one superpower that I wish everybody switches on tomorrow morning.
I would say, as Jobs said, right, to get the opportunity to make a dent in the universe.
Right, right, exactly. It's a privilege.
Okay. And what is your metric of success here? If there was only one metric where you look at, what would that be?
Yeah, of course, some teams like ours, we kind of relish in having many metrics. But if I had to just choose one, I would talk about the time it takes to complete the tasks, right? Whether in consuming our services or in providing our services, the time it takes. So if we can optimize that time, I'm pretty sure we'll uh, deliver delightful experiences, we'll remove roadblocks, we'll unlock creativity, will unlock strategic thought. I think most things, not, I mean, there are of course other metrics needed, but you had put a restriction on the one. So my one will be the time it takes to complete the tasks.
Great. So I'm just going to wind up this interview with a few rapid fire questions for you. Quick question, quick answer. Is that fine?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, one people ops innovation at Google that you wish every company would copy.
I think the decisiveness of leadership at Google to invest in AI.
Okay. One future of work buzzword that you would happily ban.
Happily ban. Future of work buzzword that I would happily ban. But I don't know of buzzwords. I don't know.
All right. Is there any trend in people experience or HR that you think is overhyped today?
I feel a lot of people are talking about AI, but when I read about what they are saying, I think most people seem to be regurgitating the same thing. So I really wish that the industry as a whole goes deeper and starts to showcase detailed examples of how they created value with AI. I think this regurgitating the same thing is not helping any one of us.
Okay. One book that you would recommend to everybody.
One book that I'll recommend to everybody. I am a big fan of clarity of thinking. So I would say there's a book called The Superpowers, right? Or any other book on clear thinking. I think there is actually a book called The Art of Thinking Clearly.
Mhm.
I generally feel um, successful investors, more often than not, think very clearly. So find your favorite investor and just follow their thinking. That itself will be very good.
All right. The best career advice that you ever received.
I think it would be that to be a citizen and not a visitor. So, what that means is to go deeper into whatever the charter you've been given and create value in it, own it. Don't always feel an attraction for the next and the next and the next. Create value in what you have, and the next comes to you.
So, one of the advices that one of our investors gave me during the early days of enParadigm was, John, look for missionaries and not mercenaries.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
All right. And finally, a leadership habit that you're trying to unlearn right now.
I think just like you said at the beginning, I've worked for more than 20 years, but I think I'm trying to remind myself that none of that matters if I am not current with what's happening now. So I think just hanging out with people similar to me, I'm trying to unlearn and hang out with the, our AI natives, people who think differently. And this could be in any field of endeavor. So not to be in an echo chamber is what I'm trying to unlearn.
Okay. Okay. And maybe last one more question. One question that you'd like to ask me.
No, I've learned from every one of our interactions over the last 10 years, John. So, what is your one advice to people like me who are being tasked with transforming large organizations?
I think, it'll be difficult to say advice, but I think love the agility and the passion, which also combines with rigor. So I think you have a very good blend of agility and rigor. And I think in today's world, we simultaneously need both, right? Agility because the AI era is already on us. Rigor because there's a lot of hallucination. So all the hallucinations that human minds have fed into AI is just doing the same thing.
Oh, exactly. I love that because I also make this joke that AI actually learned hallucinations from humans.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Rahul. You've been one of our most engaging guests on the show. I hope that we'll again get another opportunity to have a similar discussion.
Thank you, John, and thank you for what you personally have been doing in the space of learning and learning tech and innovation, and also enParadigm. I've always enjoyed my conversations with you and with the company. I really think that enParadigm is one of those rare companies out of India which is actually setting global standards in innovation in what learning can do. And I really like your, I know it's a new punchline, but learning that works, because in the era where everything is getting disrupted, it's only learning that can place human beings where we deserve to be, as in the smartest race and the smartest species. So I wish companies like you the very best, and I wish the business world learns about learning, so that once learning that works leads to businesses that work. Thank you very much. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much, Rahul.
Thank you.